Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, this is Nefertiti Perkins. So I just wanted to talk about motherhood and everything else, about like living in the next dynasty of life because, like 18th dynasty, that was ancient Egypt dynasty back in like 3,300 years ago, a very ancient civilization, but to see where life actually went from there. So yeah, so this is basically me and my two daughters, so I just wanted to like just speak on that. These are my children, so I just wanted to, and then of course the Aten, principle of the Aten, you know, um, so yeah, I mean, it's of course in the 18th dynasty. Remember, it was an ancient civilization. I mean, there was still new medicine to begin with. There still was new treatments to begin with. But in the 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt, we did rule to our rank of what we believed and what we achieved. So I give that proper knowledge because, we made the first calendar, we made the first religion, we made a lot of different things, So yeah, so. Yeah, but this was an ancient Egypt civilization. This is basically me and my two daughters. And then, of course, this is my other daughter because you remember I had six daughters, So I'm just showing you guys basically my children that I've had and my 18th dynasty of life of ancient Egypt, of the ruling in my life. These are my six daughters that I'm basically talking about. So this one's meditating. I know that because meditating. Basically she was the one that she passed when I was 13, from child labor, and stuff like that, from complications. But this is her. This was the first one, or I think she was the third one, first one. I don't remember on that viewpoint. Of course, you would remember all that type of stuff in the next coming of your life. But in the old life, I know that she was very important part on everything else that moved forward in my life, So yeah, so this was my first or viewpoint on the research board. I'm not going to do that much research. Of course, I'm just going to because I had six daughters. So, of course, I can't remember exactly who was the first, who was the second, and who was the last, So, yeah. But this one's one of my babies. I'm just going to say that mom was my first babies, viewpoint just to make my life easier and not stress me out, So, yeah. But, yeah, this is my baby. I know this daughter is Alchemist Cinnaput, and Alchemist Cinnaput, and you know why? Only because her hair, they also call her Alchemist Cinnamon. This one's, she's the third child, but I know because by the hair is what describes her to me, because Alchemist Cinnamon Almond, it's just the hair that she will wear that really speaks knowledge to me of what she would like how she would dress and how she would look, basically, So, of course, you remember in ancient Egypt, all my daughters, we all had like deep arches in our back, and then we had like arches in our arms and arches in our legs, So, pretty much how my posture is in this dynasty, basically, in this ruling of life in the 21st century dynasty, but. Yeah, so this is Alchemist Cinnamon Almond, but her name is Alchemist Cinnapet. That's how her name, Alchemist Cinnapet. And but yeah, this is my daughter. These are my other two daughters. As you can see, there's postures, how it's viewed and stuff like that. Like you could tell that they got a deep arch. That their legs arch, their arms are arched, and everything else viewpoints. But these are my other two daughters, and we're worshiping the Aten viewpoints, basically, So, yeah, those are my other two daughters. I don't know which daughter that she is, but I know she was another daughter that I had. Also, remember I had six daughters, so I'm just showing you all my six girls. That's basically what I'm doing, but also my children. So I also had one boy just for people to actually understand too, because people believe I only had like nothing but girls, and I didn't have a boy. But I'm just clarifying the knowledge that no, I had 7 kids total as the ruling of the 17 year of dynasty of my husband's rule of King Akhenaten. So I had 7 kids total. But yeah, so this is my another daughter. This is another daughter of mine also. This is another daughter. These are another 2 of my daughters also. So yeah, this is another 2. So this is, basically my daughters. So yeah, basically the motherhood of women raising daughters, because it's like when you raise your daughters, you want your daughters to be strong, sturdy, and courageous and ambitious, just like a man would be, but understand the principles of being a woman, but also understanding that they're more heightened of achievements than just being a woman. Because, it's like, and then 21st century, I like how now, because all the role play that I played into the part of women empowerment, to by working hard on different ambitious goals, like how I wanted to be a pharaoh and everything else, versus being just a regular queen viewpoints, because there was still more of us. Because I believe every gender is equal and equality. Not one gender is more powerful than the other, because I feel like what's so more powerful other than what's between his organ, you know what I mean, or what's between her organ, what's between her legs viewpoints. Because I mean, that's basically, like, you know what I mean, like, that's not real principles of how divine creation will work, because God created both Adam and Eve, you know what I mean. So a woman and a man, 2 offspring on the multiple journeys as the offspring will be, so why would you believe that only the man will be more powerful than just the woman? Because, it's like I will believe that the woman will also just be as equally powerful just as the man would be. Because, I mean, obviously, the woman is still a nurturer, just like the man is still a nurturer and provider. The woman is still also a provider and nurturer, and obviously, because the woman is also, the man's a warrior, but the woman also should be a warrior too. So that means she knows how to combat and fight, in viewpoints, and then she knows how to speak up her mind, versus she doesn't know how to speak up and know how to speak her mind, because I mean, think about it. Like, why would we want to live in a day and age where women not able to speak up for themselves and know how to have a voice, opinion, and know how to be able to be just as courageous as every other man would be, so it's kind of like I'm glad that I took a part in that revolution for women empowerment, to be able to thrust hold of their own power and their own uniqueness, to be able to show, like, you also are strong and powerful also. You are a pharaoh, It's just my bloodline is different than your bloodline viewpoints, only because I'm ruled from a pharaoh viewpoint. So it's like, so basically I'm just talking about my journey in life also, but talking about my old life so I can talk about my second coming of my life, basically. So I have my 6 daughters by the King Akhenaten. These are my 6 daughters, and this is Amarna period. This is Aten. So of course it was a very time of controversial religious viewpoint. So of course it was a lot of stressful events also, because obviously we played the role in the first monolithic religion, so we basically played the role and we painted the picture of only one God worshiping. So of course, you know what I mean, it was very stressful for my daughters to actually go through, but everything is still as such as to be. But at least, I can at least speak on my daughters and be able to find peace in my mind about my kids, and peace in mind for everybody else knowledge of my kids, so yeah. So this is basically me and my family. This is my husband. He was also my brother, my first he was my third brother. I was the fourth child. So, so he was the third oldest of me, and I was the fourth oldest of him. So, so yeah, um, And yeah, so it's very beautiful for me to actually sit back and actually do some memory counts of life, to actually say, wow, I did a lot, to see all the achievements that I did as a woman. Also, having kids and all the things that I ambition to empower for women to actually understand of their own core power and their own core knowledge of being a woman versus living in a man's world. You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I took part in that upbringing for women empowerment for themselves. Because I'm very glad. I'm very very achieved in my life, as a purposeful viewpoint for myself of where I am today, because it's like, this is beautiful to me. This makes me feel so more strong threshold of my own power, of course, because I mean, I took the path to change the revolution of women in the 21st century and in the centuries that came after in the 18th dynasty. I basically paved their path so that way they could be able to be more empowered. Of course, Queen Pharaoh Hepshut also played a role for my viewpoint too, but I played the most dominant viewpoint for my own self knowledge of it, because I wanted to go above and beyond expectations, and then of course, in the religious movement, I was hated because we were trying to make only a one God perspective viewpoint versus a multiple different God, and there's not one founder God that's the best creator God of all humanity as such, as the most holiest, greatest power of life, basically. So, of course, it was a lot of stress for me, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, obviously, it was a lot of stress. I mean, but I'm glad that I achieved all of the desires that I had to achieve for the principle of the ruling of only one God worship. I mean, of course, you can have your own belief. However, I just want you to understand that if you think about in life, there's only won't be one God. There wouldn't be two gods. There wouldn't be like several different gods. There are probably different like core sets of gods and goddesses that also rule into that one God's perspective. Other than that, there's only one worshiping God who is the divine creator of generations of generations of generations. So, basically. So there's only one God that's the most strongest God in the ruling in this world. So yeah, so I'm glad that I was able to fight all of that viewpoint. But of course, I come in peace in my mind so I don't have to fight everything, because I did that last life for everything for the tribute of only one God worship. So I'm very peace of mind at this age of my life. And I'm 24 now. They said like the year that I passed, I was around 25 to 35 years old, one of those two. But yeah, but like I told you, I already know more into the passing of myself, so I already know all of what's behind the scenes of everything else I needed to know. So, that's more ancient Egypt perspective that I'm gonna keep core knowledge for myself, a viewpoint, because I found closure for it and I found happiness from this life also. So it's not more of a back and forth type of event for me to discuss. But so this is of course, one of the two daughters of these two. This was another child of mine also. And then, of course, I wanted to talk about the young King Pharaoh Akhenaten. That's his biological name, but because of his professors, they were not his preceders. Remember, it was a religious viewpoint. So, of course, it's like, well, one religion viewpoint is bringing prosperity to the kingdom, and of course, if the other viewpoint is not bringing the total prosperity to the kingdom as such, of course, it's just, this is my daughter, but I'm just saying, because this is like, this will be my son viewpoint, Akhenaten, perspective. This is Horus and everything else, and then pointing the way, of everything else moving forward. So, yeah, so this is me, this is my son, this is like Horus, this is me again in the Egyptian temples of ancient Egypt, because it's written on all of hieroglyphics of ancient Egypt, so that way ancient Egypt remembers me and remembers everything ancient Egypt can remember about that dynasty. So yeah, yeah, so it's just a very beautiful type of persona for me to actually go through and actually just put all the puzzle pieces together so that way I can find more closure for myself in this life as a woman, and in this life as a king, and in this life as everything else in one. So that way I can find more in-depth closure for my own life and more in-depth on the next life of myself. So that way, remember, everybody's entitled to a life. Everybody's entitled to a life. However, everybody is not entitled to the next coming of life. So for me to be entitled for the next coming of life, to actually stand for where I am today, to talk about all of the events in ancient Egypt, since I did was relevant and I was existing back then. So it makes me feel nice as a woman to see everything as history unfolded. However, I wasn't silly because obviously I'm a water sign, you guys. So, it's like, of course, I know how history viewpoints will go. So, yeah, but I wanted to talk about more about my son also because I just wanted to connect all the dots of my 6 daughters that I had also, but then also people don't really disclose that I also had a boy also because, I was hated, because of the viewpoint that I wanted to be just in the same viewpoint as a man would be, but as a woman perspectives, the same power. Because remember, my husband, he went to great lengths to display me as an equal into life, not just as a regular slave subordinate, as a submissive wife that just took care of all his needs and everything else, so yeah, so I wanted to basically speak on it, basically just, because it's my childhood, it's my memories of my life, and I just wanted to close that. Yes, I already had children also, and I'm just showing my children's faces so I can honor their legacies and honor everything about motherhood and everything about becoming the woman that I am, that the woman that I became, and then the woman that I've grown into over the years. So, and now I wanted to talk about my son, Tukumin Aten. But they call him Tukumin Amen because remember, Amen was our God professor viewpoints of a God structure that brought prosperity to our ancient Egyptian land of country and everything else. So of course, when religious viewpoints, and how like the turmoil of a new belief system, you know how it is. It shifts the countries very differently. It's like when you tell someone get their life together, it shifts everything in the dynamic structures of life for the rest of history to know. So yeah, of course, because it's like you're shifting everything in what one person would know versus what the other person wouldn't know. So of course, basically. But like I was saying, this is my son. This is Tukumin Aten. That's his correct name, but his professors changed his name to Tukumin Amen, the living image of Amen, and the messenger of Amen, verse of the messenger of the great Aten viewpoint, because like, remember, people wasn't really fond on the viewpoint of the religious movement that me and my husband made. So, of only one God worship that we can only see, not a God that's just, because remember, think about it like this. God, if you wanted to see God, wouldn't you want to look to the sky so that way you could see God look at you, right? So that's the viewpoint of where we believed into the monolistic viewpoint of only one God worship. Because if there's a God, God's presence will be known for us to see. So that's basically the viewpoint on that note. But this is Tukumin Amen. This is also Tukumin Aten because that's his real name, biological name that we birthed as I birthed his name to be in a Marna period. That was his living image name to grow up into. However, of course, professors were into succeeding on that, like Hombre, and and everything else. So of course, we're going to talk about all of the common knowledge so people can end up the discussion of everything people he say she say debates and everything else, so that way everything is talked about in the viewpoint, so I could already find closure and everybody else can find closure because I'm here. Nefertiti has arrived, the beautiful woman has arrived, so that's why I'm speaking forth on all of these knowledge of Corinth, so that way people can actually know the insight and actually get the knowledge. Like, yes, the afterlife is real, but in the afterlife there's a gatekeeping way to enter the afterlife. So yeah, but it's okay. In ancient Egypt, the hieroglyphics and everything else, what we stand for, we're all based on reality viewpoints. And yeah, so I made it to the next coming of life. But yeah, so this is my son, Akhenaten, once more. And then this is me and my husband. He was also my brother. He was my third brother, like I said. This is King Akhenaten, living image of Aten, of the holy creator of this world. And this is me, Nefertiti, the principle of the divine principle of this world as the order of the female version of Aten, version of the view of life. So of course, this was like a very good movement in my mind perspective, and I'm proud that this was my brother, and I'm proud that this was my husband, and I'm proud that this was my baby's father, and I'm proud of everything and one as you can believe. It was my best friend. He was my best friend. He was the person I lost my virginity to. He was the person that I had my first kid with, and he was the person I had my last kid with. So of course, it was a very strong movement of threshold for myself because, it's like brother and sister combined relationship. Of course, in the new generation, that's more taboo structured, of course. However, it's just, yeah, it's just one of those things, you know what I mean? It's okay. It doesn't really concern as much of viewpoints on my book because, of course, in ancient civilization, remember, there was more things that were discovered of knowledge that we had to be told and everything else. So yeah, genetically, because remember, once when you already have like offspring of inbreeding from past family relationships of generations and generations, like from cousins, first cousins, first cousins, first cousins, to finally the substantial of brother and sister that are also connectedly in the same genetic makeup from mom and dad. So of course, it's like, yeah, it brings life onto that occasion that there was love out there, viewpoints from the one party that's more closest to you. So yeah, and I mean, obviously in the 21st century, that's more taboo-ish, topic, and it is what it is. However, for my substantial in ancient Egypt of 18th dynasty, it was what it was, basically. So I just wanted to put the threshold on that. Like, there wasn't much what people should really tell because, I mean, we were happy, you know what I mean? It's like that's all that marriage is basically supposed to bring into you guys. Is marriage is supposed to bring happiness and closure into each other's lives. I mean, of course, it's still a taboo topic. I'm not going to go against what people believe because I know it wasn't always healthy for us because we had a serious inbreeding condition, of course, from generations and generations and generations, from ancestors of first cousin relationships. So of course, you know what I mean? It's like, it is what it is, basically. But yeah, so I also wanted to talk about the younger lady because that's the speculation is the younger lady is Nefertiti, because that is the truth. The younger lady was me in the past life. It was disguised as a different name because remember, all of our proceeders and people who were like, priestess and priest and everything, the more wholly structured of economy, of course, once when we stripped their wealth and we took away their wealth, of course, we already know how that would hit in a female's mind and in a male's mind of the viewpoint. Like, say if I took away your power, how would you feel? Of course, because it was a very turnover. Like, I was living as equally to you, but now I live into a modern day society viewpoint because, not because my son, but because of my husband's viewpoint and our viewpoint of only a one God principle of structured, So, of course, but yeah, but the younger lady was me. The younger lady also, she passed from an axe blow to her face. Also, that's how she passed away, meaning it happened right before my son became king. That's why as I say, I already know the principle of knowledge behind it, but it's okay because it's bringing forth the second coming of myself and a second coming to be told of the truth of everything that happened in the ancient Egyptian dynasty. And as in the 21st century of dynasty, I have greater closure of 3,350 years of closure from history unraveling. I'm a spiritual coach, I'm a life coach, and everything in one. So I work with my divine creation, and I also work with all of the different mythological goddesses and goddesses of the centuries that have been told from 3,500 years ago to all the way to this current day of Ring. So, but the younger lady was Nefertiti. That was who the younger lady is. That's who the younger lady was. And that's who the younger lady is. And she also is basically the biological demographic of Akhenaten's biological mother. Because, remember, in history, they would have tried to got rid of me because, they didn't want to see the next coming of life for us. They didn't want us to hear the next coming because, of course, it's like we took away their power, we took away their, structure and everything else, and we took away their own, modern belief system of what they believed, basically, to be true, But it's okay because, the second coming of life has teach so many knowledges and so many spiritual teachings that awakened my eyes and made me feel so more prideful in the next coming of life to make me actually speak that yes, the younger lady was me, and I passed from an axe blow to my face, and I am also King Tut's mother. I am his biological mother, and this is my son, and he was the last pharaoh of the 18th dynasty or the 18th or 19th dynasty. I don't do all of the background because, in my mind, it's like, yes, he ruled, but yeah, but this is my son, and he made me very proud of every viewpoint that he made his mother proud. It's like to speak on my son as a man and to speak on my son on all the notes of a man viewpoints for himself. He made me proud as my son. He made me so proud. You do not understand. Yes, he did pass early on in life at the age of 19. However, overall, he made me as a mother and as his biological mother. Not what people start to say that I'm his stepmother, because I'm not his stepmother. I'm his biological upbringing birth mother, meaning we shared the same everything. I birthed this boy. This is my son, and he made me the most happiest woman to find closure in my next life and everything else to make me feel proudful that this is my boy. This is my son. Akhenaten, this is my son, and I'm proud, and I am so proud, so that's basically all my children, from the year of me 18th dynasty of ancient Egypt. I had 6 daughters, and I had even 1 boy. So I hope you guys like this video. Hit the like button. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. You could share this video also. I'm real. Nefertiti is existing, and I will always be here. Long live Nefertiti. So yeah, but this is my boy, Akhenaten. He was a king pharaoh, and he was the last of the dynasty in ancient Egypt. So that ruled under my geographic of bloodline jurisdictions viewpoint. So yeah. So you guys, this is me, Nefertiti, Nefer for Aten, Pharaoh, Nefer for Aten. That's if you wanted to put a title under my name, but other than that, it's just Nefertiti. But I go by Law Nefertiti only because there's so many. I wanted to describe, I'm the only person with my name. There's not nobody else who's me. There ain't nobody else like me, and there is nobody else that can share the stories that I have to share in this world. So